All right, we're out here on beautiful Table Rock Lake. We'll give you a few tips and techniques on kind of how I pitch and flip. We'll be targeting some shallow wood and see if we can't trigger a bite doing that. So we're talking about pitching and flipping, especially like wood, shallow laydowns, things like that. You know, this can really apply to any time of the year. You're liable to pull up on a laydown and catch one 12 months out of the year, especially flipping one of my favorite baits, and that's a jig. One key thing in how to approach a laydown, we've got one here in front of us, we've got another one just down the bank here. Those laydowns extend quite a ways off the bank a lot of times, and a lot of times towards the end is when they get the bushiest and the gnarliest. But if I can visually see that thing, whether it's using my electronics or my eyeballs, I will always start by pitching around the outside of that laydown first. The worst thing that I feel like you can do is pitch directly to the heart of the laydown, which is more often than not where the bite may come from. But then you hook a fish, you rip him through limbs, and you're disturbing the rest of the tree. So the biggest thing is I'll start on the outside. I'll pitch around the outside of the laydown, try to work the edges of it, and then I'll start working my way up into the core area of that laydown. So this one here, I can visually see a little bit of it. You probably can't on the camera, but you can see where it's coming off the bank. But I'm actually gonna pitch out here probably what appears to be about 20 feet to y'all, but there's actually a little bit of the laydown way out here off the bank. So I'm gonna start working the outside edge of it, and then I'm gonna slowly work my way into it. Another key thing is keeping a safe distance from it. The worst thing you can do is roll up in there. You know, stealth to me is a huge part of power fishing shallow, especially in cleaner water like we're in here. And you're gonna work your way in there very slow. Don't get in there and flip your trolling motor around when it's on 80% and prop wash the whole thing and basically just disturb the, oh, I thought I had a bite there. Got me a little jumpy. But there again, I'm catching one or two limbs just on the very outside of this tree right now, and then I'm going to start working kind of up into the middle of it, to the juice part, I like to call it, the heart of it. And a lot of times, like I said, that's where your bite will come from. But I like to start around the outside and work my way in. So that one kind of went right to where the main fork of the tree is. And we got him. He's not very big, but we got him. I believe that was the culprit on the last cast there, is that little fat spotted bass there. Come on now, son. Chill. You need to chill. What a beautiful little fish. Look how fat that little joker is. Move my jig so y'all can see him. Beautiful. Not quite a keeper on this lake, but close. But hey, every jig bite's a fun bite. When you get to lay the hammer to them, let them have it. Now that bite actually came more towards the middle of that laydown, but the first 2 or 3 casts you saw I pitched around the outside of it. Again, I want to make sure I cover this tree from every angle too. You know, that's a big part of flipping laydown shallows. You don't want to make 2 or 3 flips on a big old gnarly laydown and just keep on rolling down the bank. You want to make sure you hit every little spot and hit it from different angles. If you look at that laydown right now that we're staring at, I mean, you've got a little bitty, what is that, maybe a foot in diameter at the base, small laydown. You don't see any limbs sticking off that thing whatsoever, and it extends out in the water, and what you don't see is what's actually underneath the surface, which is like just a crazy, awesome bass habitat. You know, it's got gnarly limbs out off the end of it, which creates a great ambush spot for these bass to sit in. But don't let it be deceiving just because that's all you see on the bank, because what's out here underneath the water is another world. So a lot of times, you know, guys will take the jig, and I'll have to switch arms, especially if you get tired or something throughout the day. But the natural way to do it is to grab the bait in your left hand and use your right arm to actually do the pitching and flipping if you're a right-hander. What I like to do is learn to flip and pitch left-handed. So I'll just keep, so the rod's in my left hand the entire time. I don't have to switch hands. It's a lot less stressful, and you're a lot more prepared in case, let's just say I've flipped a jig in there before, seen that line jump when it sinks a foot and you're not ready, you've had to switch arms with the rod and all that stuff. So you're more on point and on go if you keep that rod in your left hand. See, if I pitch it out there right-handed, I've got to take it, switch hands, click the reel over, and then get ready. If you fish a lot, you know, you can easily pick it up in a few days of just, you know, doing it for a few hours each day. And you can go, I mean, you can do it inside your house, you know. You can go in there and set you up a little bucket. The weather's nasty, and practice pitching and flipping that jig in that little bucket. because accuracy, stealth, you know, all that's a player. Sorry, we were rudely interrupted by a spotted bass. Not a big one. I was actually winding it in. That's why you always pay attention. And I use a pretty simple, just kind of up and down retrieve with a jig. I like to bounce it off the bottom. I like to hop it. I'm looking for those aggressive fish. I really like to pitch it into the heart of a laydown, let that line get draped over 2 or 3 limbs and sit there and yo-yo it a few times too. You'd be surprised how many fish are sitting in some of these laydowns that don't bite on the first cast. A lot of times it's almost like fishing for one on the bed. You just got to irritate him into biting. But first few flips, typically I'll pitch it in there. I'll hop it through the limbs pretty aggressively, see if I can't get one to react. And then I'll really soak it in some of these other parts of the tree, especially the thicker parts. I'm a taller guy, you know, I'm 6'1", so I like a longer rod. It just seems to handle a little bit better more for me. It's a 7.6 heavy. It gives me a little bit more leverage, things like that. If you're shorter, you may want to go down to a 7.4, 7.3. It just depends on what fits you the best. But again, it's a 7.6 heavy, pulse fish. It's actually one of my signature series rods. All right, so one thing too that's important when I'm pitching and flipping, you pitch in there, a fish hits it on the fall, say, or you know, it grabs it really quickly. The biggest thing is having a higher speed gear ratio reel. I like a 7-to-1 or 8-to-1 gear ratio reel. And the reason is I can pick up that line a lot quicker. And if you hit that fish on a hook set, a lot of times we've all seen this happen, whether you're up under a dock in a laydown, whatever, a bush, the fish will take off towards the boat out of that bush, tree, whatever it is, super fast. So keeping up with that fish, keeping a tight line on him. The other thing is I can be more efficient, which means I can make more casts. As I'm pitching or flipping, you know, once I'm done with that particular cast, I can get my bait in a little bit quicker. And look, when we're out here tournament fishing or just fishing for fun, to me, every second counts. Okay, I'm using a Carbon Light Bass Pro Shops reel. All right, I'm using 17-pound P-line tactical fluorocarbon. In this cleaner water, I like the lightest I can get away with, but safely without breaking a fish off. 17 seems to get me a few more bites in this cleaner water. I'm using a 1/2 ounce jig, just a little homemade jig. We're fishing in relatively clear water today, so I like some of the colors I like are like a green pumpkin, green pumpkin, something very natural. Just a little crawl imitation trailer there on the back. We're trying to imitate a crawdad. Y'all seen it in action today, so hopefully we can show you a few more. Got him. That's a good one too. That's a nice one. Look at the crawfish he's spitting up. Oh, look at the crawfish. That's a good, solid keeper largemouth. And on this place in the fall, that's a good one. That's a beautiful fish. That's probably a 16-inch fish, 2 1/4 to 2 1/2 pounds. Old crawfish eater, AKA jig eater. That's what we're targeting. What's crazy, I was talking earlier about how thorough you need to be when you fish a laydown. We made 20, 25 pitches and flips of this laydown earlier. We came back to the same laydown, pitched up there in the heart of it, and caught a really nice largemouth that we just turned loose. And that's why I say, you know, make sure you're thorough when you come up to these laydowns. Make sure you pick them apart. You know, you never know when that fish is, where that fish is sitting, and when he's ready to actually actively eat. We know what that fish was feeding on. He was spitting up crawfish pinchers the whole time we were bringing him in. And when they say match the hatch, you know, again, in the fall of the year, crawfish are out, they're getting gobbled up. And that's what this jig's resembling, is a crawfish.